Okay, so this is the third video I've made so far. I've done a standalone install. Then I did a walk through the command line install requirements and steps, manually typing it into the command prompt interface. Now we're going to do this in a automated way by using a batch file. All that means is you're taking all of those things that we had to type before, putting them into a file. You can run that file. It runs all those commands for you so you don't have to type them manually. That's all a batch file does. It automates that job. It's not a deployment yet, but this gets you one step closer. So let's get onto that. So again, our downloaded installer from the customer portal. Right click, 7-zip, extract it to a folder of your choice. Let's rename that just to Vectorworks 25. That'll do. Doesn't matter what that's called. You don't need that installer anymore because we have it extracted already. There it all is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this folder and then we're going to put it in a safe network location that can be accessed from anywhere. So I'll go to that now. That'll do. I'm just going to put it in here and say paste. Ignore the other folders that are in there from when I was playing around. VW25 is the folder I'm going to use. So now you open it up, you can see all the files we had before and folders are now in this network location. So just remember what that path is. I'm going to leave this open for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a batch file. All right, we can make it anywhere you want on your computer or in the network location. So we'll start here in the network location. Just make a text document, right? And just call it install.bat or something like that, right? Now we want to do a edit. And we're going to put all those same things we did in the last video into here so it runs them all automatically. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with is we're going to set up some variables. Okay, these are just names that point to these paths. So every time we need to type this, we can just type the name instead of that. It basically references that for us. It's just to save annoying retyping of folder paths. Okay, so we're going to do that now. We're going to go set source. Right, we're going to go set temp. And then we're going to go set res. Okay, why are we doing this? You'll see in a sec. The source is going to equal this, where we've chucked all of our files that we copied to the network storage location. Equals, bang, right? Temp equals, just wherever we're going to dump this stuff temporarily on the person's computer while it's being installed. Okay, so we're going to go C, we're going to make a folder. We're just going to call it that, all right? Then we're going to go res is C TMP. In fact, this stuff isn't case sensitive, guys, so you can just like forget about that. You can just do it lowercase if you want. It doesn't make a difference. These names are case sensitive on the left of the equals, but everything on this side, capital, lowercase, it means nothing. So let's go to C temp. Then we're going to go C/resources. Because once we copy this over to the C drive, this resources folder is still going to be inside here. Right, so this will just be C temp/resources. Okay, that's why we're doing that. The first thing you would want to do when running a batch file is you're going to have to connect to this path here. Right, the only way you can connect to that using command prompt is to map it to a drive letter. There's a quick way of doing that called push D, push drive basically. And you just say push D, and because we've already set it as a name, we don't have to type the full thing out anymore. You can just go %%. In the middle of those percentage symbols, just type source. Oops, one just disappeared. So % source %. Capital is the same as the other name. All right. That just references that path. Beautiful. Now that would mean when it actually pushes that to connect to that, it will be in that actual folder. So at this point, this command will be inside this folder. And now what we want to do is we want to say X copy Why are we using Xcopy instead of standard copy? Because we have folders inside folders and we want to get everything, okay? So for that, we're going to use Xcopy. We're going to get the source path. So you basically type where you're going from, space, and then to. So percent source in English, space, and we will go percent temp, right? And we'll just go slash, these are little parameters you can use with Xcopy to make sure it just copies everything recursively. Recursively just means all the folders inside, okay? Slash E, slash I, slash D. You don't even need all of those. It's just a precaution. Xcopy source to temp. That should cover it. We can check afterwards. Don't auto-correct my stuff. Go away. The next line, now that we've copied that to there, and we're going to say, where do we now want to be? Well, we don't want to be in this folder anymore because we want to start running it from where it's copied it to, right? So we're going to go C. That'll take you to the C drive on their local machine. So now what we want to do is, now that we've got it copied to the temp folder, we want to jump inside this folder. Why? Because look what's inside this folder. Remember this little guy? CLI.bat? It lives inside the resources folder, okay? So we're going to say C drive, and then we're going to say CD, which is just change directory, to %res, %. Okay, that's going to put us inside there. So now we're going to run the CLI.bat that we ran in the previous video, and we're going to pass it some parameters. Now, previously I did the -i command. You probably remember that. We don't need to do that. If you don't specify that, it will just default to C program files /Vectorworks space 2025, which is fine. Okay, I was just showing that you could do it to a different directory. So let's get started. Let's go CLI.bat. We're not going to specify the -i this time, but we're still going to do the dash capital S, because we're going to specify the serial number, as I want that automatically passed to the installer. So we're going to go -S. And then we're going to come into the customer portal again, and we're going to grab our serial number, which pasting into Notepad is fine. It'll probably have a little bit of extra spaces on it, which you can just remove. So bang. It jumped down a line there, see? Get rid of that. Space it away from that. So CLI.bat space dash capital S space your complete serial. That's all you have to put. If you are doing an offline install, you're going to need to use the LDF file. I'm not covering that in this video. It's just another parameter. Do the CLI.bat and look at the options, and you'll see what you can type. You'll see there's a -L, and you can actually specify the LDF file. If you have an internet connection and you can do an online check, hey, why bother? Just do the online one. CLI.bat dash capital S serial number. That's basically it. That's going to do the install. Once it's finished that, I want to clean up after it. Okay, so what we're going to do after that, we're going to say rmd /s/q, and we're going to say %temp. Alright, what's that going to do? It's going to forcefully get rid of this folder once it's finished installing. It runs from left to right, top to bottom. That's the order. What are we going to do when we're running a batch file for the first time? Unless you want to run it from the command line, then just chuck a pause in here. Because if you don't put a pause when you first test it, if there's a problem, it'll just terminate and you won't be able to see what happened. So the pause stops it and lets you read the error message so you can come back and correct this if necessary. So just go save, right? Now let's go and run our install.bat, run as administrator. Yes. There it goes. It's copying all the files. We know that part works. Now it's doing an install. Right, it's kicked off the install. Installing, preparing to run install. That's great. So when you see press any key to continue, that means it's hit the pause in our batch file. And it means that we can then hit any key and close it. And we can come and check on our install. We can go and have a look on the C drive. So we can go to Program Files, VW25, and you can see the exe in here. There it is. Run it up. Make sure it runs. There she is. And we're at the sign in. That's great. It's found the license because it knows it requires a sign in. And the users can go. So like I said, this isn't a deployment, but you've now got all those steps automated, which is one step away from a deployment. What you want to do, so now what you want to do is go back to your batch file, remove the pause, because you know it works, right? You can remove the pause. Now, if you're happy to run a batch file as an admin on behalf of users to install it like that, that's fine. But what you might want to do is make it so it doesn't print everything to the screen. And you can just go echo off on the first line, right? That means this stuff won't show. All the commands won't show. But if you want to make your own comments that show up on the console, you can type them in by putting echo in front of them, right? So you might say echo. Copying files from network to PC, right? Then you might say echo running the install process. And after the last line where it installs, you can say echo install complete. The only thing is, once it finishes, it'll close so quick you won't even see that. So what you would do if you actually do want to see that without pausing it, because you don't really want to pause on something that's working, is you would say after that, timeout /t 5 or something like that, right? And it'll wait 5 seconds to close. So you'll just see copying files from network to PC, running the install process, and install complete. That's all you'll see in that screen. If I run that now, just to show you the first part, I'm not going to wait for that entire install again, but we're back in this folder now. Let's run this again with the comments that we put in and hiding all the stuff that we don't need to see. Go run as administrator, yes. You'll see copying files from network to PC, running the install process. I'm not even going to bother, okay? It's already installed, but you can see what it does now. The X copy still shows what it copies, but outside of that, you'll only see these comments. Now, what you need to consider is how many users do you have? If you've got 5 people using this, why bother deploying it? Just go, yeah, cool, no worries, remote access their PC, or if you're at their PC, right click run as admin from that location, just let it do its thing. So if you're going to take the next step to move this to a full-scale deployment, where you have many users, I'd say anything more than 5, it's time to start thinking about a deployment. A deployment platform, if it's any good, will allow you to set the variables in the platform. It will do the copying for you before you even start. Obviously, you don't need to echo doing a silent install from a platform. You wouldn't need a timeout because it's happening in the background. You wouldn't even see it. Literally, the only thing, once you've configured your deployment platform correctly, the only command you would pass to your deployment platform would be this. Because you've set the copying, you've set the variables, you've set the folder where it starts. So it knows it's working from that folder on their machine. You're running it as system. So it's got full access. You don't need to run as admin. It runs it as the system account. The most successful clean installs is when you do it this way as system from a deployment platform. I'll make another video of a deployment setup and we can go from there. Thank you for watching.